Shifting kind of gears,
Mhm.
another thing that I know that you had recently had a podcast on, which is a topic I'm really fascinated with,
Mhm.
is the area of dreams.
Yeah.
So, what has been your relationship with dreams, or how it has evolved? How do you see it today?
It's so interesting because, when I was a child, my dreams were really wild, really wild. And I remember when I was, I think like 5 or 6 years old, I came down with a really bad fever, and I was home, and I remember being in like kindergarten or something, maybe first grade. And I was home and I was just sleeping on a couch and I was just sleeping all day. And I remember I kept falling into this dream and it kept happening. And the dream was that I was in the trenches in like the Korean War or like First World War or something. And I was like in the trenches and there were bombs going off. And I was a man and I could taste dirt in my teeth,
Wow.
and one of the guys that was with me, he got shot and I was trying to care for him. And it was like, as a 5-year-old child, it was like every single time I woke myself up out of it because it was so scary being 5 and having that dream. And I'd go back to sleep and I would go back into it again. And it was like that for like 2 days. And I remember telling my mom, I'm like, what's going on? Why am I dreaming this? And she was a little worried. She took me in to see a child psychologist because, I think she really thought that the dream was way more than a dream, that it was one of my past lives that I was reliving. And for whatever reason, it's like wherever my brain was when I had that fever, it just kept connecting me back to that place, connecting me back, connecting me back. So that was like my first, like the early experiences with dreams for me, and having the ability to just have a lot of like lucidity in my dreams, and like, flying and checking in and out of dreams when I want, zooming in, like going in really close, backing out, changing scenes, going here, going there, which was always really cool. And then once I became in my mid to late 20s, all of a sudden it all stopped. Like I lost all my ability to connect in the dream space. And it started for me, oddly enough, when I started reading a book on how to get deeper into dreams. It
Yes.
was as if like I had already had that. And then I started reading this book about developing this sense in myself, and it literally turned it off. It turned it off for years for me. And it took me about like 5 years, I would say, in order for me to get back into the relationship with the dream world that I had before. And nowadays it's dreams have become so powerful, especially because I've been working more and more with crystals. And when I started working, like before, I forgot to mention this about crystals and stuff before, but I used to make jewelry with stones, and I would make like really, really healing pieces where I would look at like the chakra system and where the stones went to certain chakras, and I would make pieces specifically for certain conditions and ailments and stuff. And so I would make these pieces a long time ago, and it was like every time I made one, I went to this meditative state. And during that time was when my dreams started going like so crazy. It was just like stones were coming. I like birds, like all these like stones I had never seen or heard before. I would dream about stones, names of stones I had never heard before, and then wake up like, what is that stone? And have to look it up in a book. Like it was like they were becoming that strong. And recently, because I got back into the stones again, like they're a huge part of me now. And now the dreams, they're starting to become more and like stronger and stronger and stronger due to my connection with stones. And I think that for some of us, we all have these different senses that we are able to use outside of our five senses, right? Like our psychic seeing, our psychic hearing, our psychic tasting, all of these abilities. And for some people, they can very clearly, the clairvoyance, they can see really easily when they start to work on developing these senses. And for me, it's never been about seeing. Seeing has never been my way of receiving information, but dreams have. So it's almost as if like in certain aspects, for us will be stronger in certain ways. And it's like almost as if my dreams will be the ones to teach me a lot of things and show me a lot of things, show me a lot of places. Like before I moved to San Diego, I kept dreaming about going to this big field and walking across this field and going down this trail, like this like little meandering path in the evening that was lit up. And there were like little like what looked like tiny horse stables or something. Like they were like tucked in the back. And I kept dreaming about this like 4 or 5 times. And then I moved to San Diego and I'm walking around Balboa Park at night and I'm like, oh my God, this is the place. This was the place
Wow.
that was in my dreams. Like that happened. It happened before I moved to San Diego. It happened before I went to India. There was a specific house that I kept going to in my dreams. And I remember the fence outside of the house and the cobblestone sidewalk was very, very crooked and it was really narrow. And I remember being in this house as a person in this house. And I just was like, where did I go? Like I'd wake up like, what was that about? And then I go to India and I'm walking down the street and I'm like, oh, this is the house. This is the fence. This is the house, you know? So it's almost as if like my dreams sometimes will prepare me for my next life's adventure and to a certain degree, you know? And so there's, you know, and I want to say about dream books, again, the same thing with the cards, with the crystals, they're helpful, you know, but they are not the be all end all. So like whatever signs are coming to you in your dreams are coming to you for a specific reason. And it's a matter of us figuring out what that reason is for us. So it's really important to keep a dream journal.
Right. No, this is fascinating. Yeah, there's a lot here. I mean, some of the things that you have shared, I can very much relate to. One thing that you said is that you stopped having that kind of lucidity and stuff, I think at 16. Is that something?
No, that was like 28 when that happened.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because they do say there's a lot of research now that shows that kids up to a certain age, I think it's before the age of 7, predominantly all their dreams are lucid dreams.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a lot about my dreams when I was before 7, but I know that all my life I was really young, and I think this is most kids, the kind of perception I had was radically different. Things were more, let's just say, magical in quality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, you know, kids, for them, if you talk to them, oftentimes their description is very fluid and very magical in the things that they think are possible. So, so in a way, this connects back to the previous theme that we live in a culture which is very wake-centric, where only the waking state is honored and not so much deep sleep or dreams. Whereas in other indigenous cultures, again, if you just look at all the beautiful things that you have shared with us, like you were almost talking about precognition, which is of events that are about to take place. One could even question the fluidity of time, you know, and all this stuff is what we call psychonaut. You know, it's like an astronaut in your own inner realms. And in the West, unfortunately, it's not that they are studied; they're just outright dismissed for the most part.
Yeah.
And one thing that you said about keeping a journal, and this is one of the things that I've really noticed, is that the very act of keeping a dream journal radically increases the number of dreams I can remember. It's not even that I ever look at the journal, but the fact that I honor my dreams by saying it is always by my bedside. And I jot them down if I wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. and it's like, oh, what was I dreaming? And then it starts just pouring in. And so this has become normal. But if I look from the times when I did not have a dream journal to the fact that I have them, and I always at night, more so now, I recognize the fact that I'm going to enter a different kind of space. And that might have messages for me. And it clearly, as you keep dream journals, I always notice when I get up in the morning, the way I feel, like my emotional state and the sensations in the body are often tied to what kind of dreams I had the night before. So it clearly flows into even how you feel in the day.
Yeah, completely. Mm-hmm.